Welcome to the Carousel, where we discuss video games, comics, movies, sometimes comic books. They say comics twice, whatever, and generally whatever awful directions those conversations traverse to. I am John, sometimes MusiM. With me I have Jake.
John, I've got some good news. I know what PB stands for Mass Effect. It stands for Pathfinder Bonin. Actually, I don't think it stands for anything, but all I can think of is PB Livin', as in Mr. Peanut Butter from BoJack Horseman.
But I'd say, when you asked me that, all I could think of was peanut butter. Like, you said that, and I'm like, now, hearing that out of your name, like, yeah, I'm hearing peanut butter out of that.
Mm-hmm.
But,
yeah, PB Livin'.
God, yeah.
Well, we're going to spend a little time on Mass Effect a little bit later.
Yeah. Well, I have first impressions. You sound like you played a lot more than me, but we'll get there. But first, we got to talk about whatever the hell released, right?
Well, we have quote-unquote free games. So the ones for Xbox Gold for April are actually kind of not bad. You have Rise, Son of Rome, which was that was kind of, I think they wanted it to be their flagship game, and like this will be a new series like Halo, and it did not turn out that way. But it looked very pretty, and I wanted to play it. But by the time I got an Xbox One, everyone had kind of shit over it already, and then okay.
Really?
But you can.
I thought it reviewed fairly favorably, didn't it? Because I feel like Shoemaker on Giant Bomb's always bringing it up, and it seems like a lot of the fans of the Xbox One really liked that game.
Maybe that's selective memory then. I feel like it got a little bump for sort of being kind of the only thing out there when the boner came out.
It didn't look like something I wanted to play to me, honestly. So, like, Rome is... I don't like Romans. I'm sorry. I was raised Baptist.
Whoa.
I'm not a Christian. I don't like Romans.
That's very disheartening. But you have all month to download
Apologies
this
to our
game.
Roman audience. I don't like ancient Romans. Here, I'll clarify.
God, so now you're ageist and ethnicist?
Yeah. If you are over, we'll say 1,000 years old. I mean that's
okay.
That puts us at what? Is that Constantine? Is he at 900? I don't remember. It doesn't matter. I'm just trying to sound smart now when I know nothing about it. What are we talking about?
You can download that all month. If you really hate Romans, I'm sure there will be plenty for you to kill. Then you have Walking Dead Season 2. That's the Telltale series that just came out. They're in the middle of doing the next season right now. But anyway, Season 2 looks like the whole season is going to be available from April 16th to May 15th. It's got some moments. Michael Madsen does some voice acting in it. And he's just being Michael Madsen, but Michael Madsen's cool. It's got a pretty good ending. It hits you in the cockles a little. But what else would you expect? For the 360, you have Darksiders, which is April 1st to the 15th. That's your Zelda kind of action RPG meets... God, what was the other thing everyone was saying was always mixed with?
Zelda?
It's sort of a little open worldy, but you got dungeons and stuff, and sort of branching paths, and it's got a real cool art style.
I mean, that was the generic thing to say about Darksiders, was it was the best Zelda game of the time. But I mean, I don't know. I know it had a portal gun at some point in it.
It was a lot of fun. I had a lot of fun with that. Your main character is War, so then when everyone came out and was pissed that Darksiders 2 didn't really change anything up, and I was like, y'all. War never changes, yo. Like, you should have seen this shit coming. But anyway, lastly, we have Assassin's Creed Revelations from the 16th to the 30th. I don't play any of the Assassin's Creed games. Is this one on your radar?
Yeah, I played through this one. This is the one that takes place in Constantinople and Istanbul.
Which is it, dude?
I don't know. I don't.
The answer is that it's nobody else's business but the Turks.
Oh, right.
It's their job to know that. That's not your business.
That's a very good
John.
point. But this is like, if I remember correctly, it was something like it was there was like a country line in between it or something, so it was two separate cities.
Was it called No Man's Stan?
I have no idea. But this is the one. This is the last one, the Ezio trilogy, that had the really cool song in the trailer, and the game was really unnecessary because to me, Ezio's story was done after one, and then they made Brotherhood, which was really good. I'm like, all right, you can keep doing Ezio's story, and then they do this one, which is just kind of a rehash of Brotherhood with a shittier story. So like,
Okay, so this was the one where it started to it was the inflection point where it went down
yeah,
and kind of didn't come up till Black Flag again.
yeah, and like it wasn't. I mean, truth be told, Revelations is not a bad game. It just doesn't propel the series in any new direction after Brotherhood, and it doesn't have a great story to it. So, but like mechanically, I mean, you still got your gang that you're making, and the gameplay is still as solid. It unfortunately has those stupid tower defense portions to it, but those are
Tower defense?
you didn't know about that. Yeah,
No.
you capture certain parts in town from the Templar. They can attack it to try and take it back. And you have to. I don't remember what's involved in it. The previews made it sound like teeth pulling, but in my experience, I just kind of show up as Ezio and kill everyone. And I guess you could do things like command your guys to go places and whatnot, but those things are few and far between. You will not have to deal with them much.
Yeah, that what you described reminds me of the parts that everyone hated in Brutal Legends. So yeah, I'll skip that one.
I never played Brutal Legend, so I can't make the comparison. But I can say that you're basically just on a little tiny street corner whenever it happens, and you just got to deal with X amount of waves and then move on with your life. Or let them retake it and then just go take it back.
So it's more of a like sidewalk defense
Yeah.
than an actual tower defense.
Yeah. I
Okay.
could go with that.
Okay. So the PS Plus games for April, we have Drawn to Death, which the art style looks super cool for, and then I saw what the gameplay was and went, okay, this still looks cool, except it's a third-person action team shooter, which I didn't go too much further than that, so I might be full of shit here. I'm going to go out on a limb and say it's multiplayer only.
It is, and it is a David Jaffe game.
That explains why all that other stuff looks awesome.
Yeah, like I really kind of dig the art style for it. I don't know if it's actually any good. I know when they previewed it at an E3 a couple years ago, everyone was shitting on it. I'm like, you guys don't like this art? Like, it's not that it's
They were
like
shitting
art
on the
that
art?
speaks to my soul, but I thought it was a cool style. Yeah, they were calling it dumb and immature, and it's like, well, yeah, but that's kind of the point and the interesting thing about it. But anyway. It's free, so and it's only free to right. I'm sorry. He posted this on Twitter and he wrote it in a weird way that made me think it wasn't a PS Plus game for April, but he was just giving it free to PS Plus members. But I'm really not clear on what happened there.
Well, if you have, oh, cool, I can't get into chat because it wants me to put in two-factor authentication. Son of a bitch. Sorry. If you have, if you can play games online, then you need PS Plus. So it's kind of a, you buy one get the other sort of thing. So
That is a good point.
yeah, which
Well, but you can buy it without being PS Plus, and he said it was like $20 or something like that.
well then that would maybe there's like single player arenas you can go through or something.
I don't know.
Because if it's multiplayer only, you need PS Plus to play online.
I'm pretty sure it's multiplayer only, and their characters all look crazy. So
They looks super cool.
yeah,
Sorry, I'm just trying to sort out this Twitch chat thing real quick. I think I've got it taken care of. Okay. The next one for PS4 is Lovers in a Dangerous Spacetime. I feel like we've talked about this before. It's a kind of co-op puzzler, real cutesy art sort of thing. It looks fine if that's your type of game. I don't know. Then we have a weird one. It's Invisimals: The Lost Kingdom, which is a PS3 game. It's kind of a... Go ahead.
isn't that the one that requires the camera? Like,
That's what I said. That was the original. Basically, the original Invisimals was kind of Pokemon Go for the Vita. Sort of mixed with maybe like that old that card game where you needed the PSI. I don't know. But originally it was that. This one seems more like you can just sort of trade out your quote unquote Pokemon, which are just totally dead. They're not Pokemon. They're Invisibles. Invisibles. Don't worry about it. But you can sort of, the way it looks, you can change them sort of in and out to handle different puzzles or whatever. Kind of like Cameo is what it reminded me of. Then we have Alien
Word up?
Rage Extended Edition.
You
I didn't get. Hmm?
Okay, never mind. That's fine. You can ignore my cameo joke.
Oh, if that's a rap joke, I wouldn't get it.
Oh, yeah, no. Cameo, word up. That the song from 80s, 90s. It doesn't matter. I'm sorry.
Nope.
Cameo
Sorry.
deserves attention whether you acknowledge it or not, though.
That one flew over me. So then we have Alien Rage Extended Edition, which is. I thought Horizon Zero Dawn was a bad title. This one might be a little worse. I looked it up and kind of saw a couple of screenshots, and then I went to Metacritic, and it was like PlayStation Magazine gave it a 3 out of 10. And then everyone else is sort of like, I Googled it, and it was like, I want to say Destructoid and IGN and GameSpot. Like between the three of them, it had a 35%. And I went, we're good. I don't need another generic FPS.
Wow.
35. And then we got a couple of cross-buys. They are 10-Second Ninja, which actually looks it's super hard, and I'm not sure the difficulty's tuned very well. But it looks very much like Meat Boy, and sort of, discrete levels that you complete very quickly with sort of real fluid movement, real quick respawning. It's got ninjas, so that's a plus. That actually looks pretty fun. And then lastly, we have Curses and Chaos, which is a 2D wave-based brawler. Boy, that one looks rough. I would probably skip that one. If you're interested in sprites, sort of doing beat-em-up stuff on screens that are all discrete, whereas like they don't appear to scroll to the right or left, like you were just beat 'em up, go to next screen, beat 'em up, teleport to next screen. That sounds cool to you? Look up a video. It's already yours, so check it out.
Okay.
As far as the actual new stuff coming out, what do we got?
Okay, so for games, this Tuesday, April 4th, Persona 5 comes out for the PS3 and PS4, and that's all you guys need to know about. So everyone go pre-order that, and we're just going to end the podcast here. No.
Yeah, I'll get right on that.
I know, it's a game that'll be right up your alley, Jake. I know you
Uh-huh.
love it. Just everything about it. Like, you're really into anime. You're
Uh-huh.
really into going to high school.
Yep.
And I know you love turn-based RPGs, like,
Wow.
the most.
It's like they made this game specifically for me.
And you know what? Maybe they added a dodge button, and it can be like a Souls game for you.
Yeah, no, I'm sold. Count me in.
Okay. Also for that same day, Lego City Undercover comes back from its slumber in a grave and comes out for the... Wait, I thought this was an old game. It's coming out for PS4 and Xbone too?
Uh-huh.
And Switch. And
It is a 13 gig install on the Switch.
it says it's a Wii U port. Did this only... I'm okay, so this just
This
came out
was
for
a-
last generation. Now they're upgrading it to current gens. Okay.
I don't know that it's been upgraded or overhauled at all. I didn't see anything about that. I'm sure they at least put in a cursory, pretty it up kind of thing. But it just that 13 gig install on the Switch got me. Because like your card's only 32, but it comes with 32 on board to start with. And it's like really, ugh, eh.
Yeah,
So,
that's not
people are really, really liking the portability of the Switch, it seems. Specifically, they're loving being able to play Zelda whenever they want in little chunks. I am happy for all those people. But everything about this hardware just sounds like a mess.
Well, the benefit of the like, even though the card, I mean, granted that I don't think the micro SD cards get too much larger than what they put it in there right now. Like, I think you can get up to 64 or 96 or something, but I'm fairly certain they're pretty inexpensive. like since it's just a generic whatever type you use. So I'm pretty
I think they get quite a bit bigger than that for right now. Actually, already, I mean.
Oh,
Um, but yeah, it's still it's having it offloaded to you, and I get it. They probably, for space and portability reasons, couldn't fit this giant hard drive in there. But man, there's just so many pieces about this that just seem just
yeah.
a tweak off. But you know what? I've never touched one, so I guess I can't say for sure. And the people who have them seem to love them. So we'll see if that sentiment sticks around once Zelda sort of falls off everyone's radar.
Yeah. Okay. So moving on to April 11th, we have Yooka-Laylee for PS4, PC, and Xbone. Finally, a Kickstarter game that I did not back. So this is
There's a first time for everything.
Yeah, this is the Banjo-Kazooie kind of inspired game that was made that recently caught news, I think, because I guess JonTron was one of the voices, and they took him out after his fabulous interview he gave.
Yeah, boy, that's...
Yeah, so a little awkward there, but I can't remember. I'm pretty sure one of the devs was one of the Yooka-Laylee guys, but... Or not ukulele. I just Banjo-Kazooie guys, but I could be wrong. I don't know. The people who like Banjo-Kazooie seem to be excited about this game. I don't give a shit about it. Jake, where do you stand?
I stand even further behind you.
Oh, okay.
Because I give less of a shit, and if it turns out you do give a shit, I want to make sure that there's room between us.
Okay. I mean, it smells. I mean, what can you do?
Mm-hmm. I'm also upwind.
So, also coming out that same day, Planescape Torment Enhanced Edition for PC. This is Beamdog has been working on it, and they actually hired Chris Aveline, who is the brain behind the Planescape Torment, and the
brain behind the plane.
Yeah, they went in and upgraded the whole thing and added some side characters, and this is the studio that did the Baldur's Gate and Icewind Dale updates and stuff. So I mean, in terms of studios that are doing this, then this one at least has experience doing it. I have not actually played the original. I have a modded version installed on my hard drive and just never got around to it because it's as much... I do like playing and exploring old games, but it's still work and I have to mentally prepare myself for it. But now that they brought this version out, I'm just going to wait a couple months and pick it up. So,
yeah, this actually, I'm going to have to give it a bit, and obviously the schedule needs to die down some. But I don't know, for as much as people... Because isn't there another Planescape or Planes something, Planes of Numenaria something just
Torment
came out that's
Tides
like
of Numenaria. Yeah,
Thank you.
The spiritual successor to this one.
So with that coming out, people seem to be remembering this game very fondly and having lots of nice things to say about it. So if it looks like the interface on this is going to be remotely accessible and it's not going to make my eyes bleed, I will maybe give it a shot.
All right, well, I have always heard this is one of the best games ever made, kind of from people who've played it, but it's because it's in that kind of corner with the Baldur's Gate, Icewind Dale stuff. Like, I know the amount of work it takes to play those games, and I just haven't been ready to give it yet. But my understanding is this game is supposed to be very conversation-based, and you're a guy who can't die, And there's
I do not want to play a tactics game. So I want there to be as little of that as possible in here, and it sounds like this is the one to play if you want that.
Yeah. So, also on that same April 11th day, the Bulletstorm re-release, Bulletstorm Full Clip Edition for PS4, PC, and Xbone, and that lets you switch out Duke Nukem for the main character.
And can I tell you, just completely unrelated, I didn't even noticed this until I looked up the releases. I have had the Duke Nukem theme song in my head for probably 3 days straight now, which is not good because it's only like 18 seconds long, and in my head it's still a MIDI. So I've had a MIDI in my head for 3 days. This was I'm not going to call it a really good game. It's a juvenile game. The humor I thought was it recognized that it was being juvenile and just doubled down on it, so you can see how they thought that it would go with Duke Nukem, except the sort of attitudes of those two games are wildly different in that Bulletstorm is fun and doesn't actually think it's being badass. It's being over the top goofy, but also has some good writing and jokes, and like the gameplay's fun, and you get to pull dudes up into the air 0G and then kick them into a space cactus, and it's very fun.
You know, it does actually sound like a situation where, like, just the studio behind Bulletstorm was getting drunk with Randy Pitchford, and Randy Pitchford's like, you know, you should put Duke Nukem in there as a bonus. Like, no, I'll pay for it, really. Please make this license worth something again. We paid so much for it, please.
Exactly, exactly. I mean, just hey, this character, I need to do something with this. Like, please make him somewhat relevant. And this is the only thing that's remotely close to the attitude we had back when we were making those games. I don't know, it's this or nothing. And they went, okay.
Yeah, I don't know. I honestly, I was not a Bulletstorm fan. Like, looking back on it, I don't think it's as bad as I remembered. But when it came out, like, it came out, everyone was like, oh man, this slide is so awesome. And I'm like, you motherfuckers didn't even play Vanquish. Like, I was I was upset that the game I liked better wasn't getting the attention, and just everyone kind of dove into it. But I played about halfway through it, and I'm like, I'm good. But
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know that this is one I would start on a Sunday morning and keep playing until I beat the game or it hit midnight. But I don't know. Maybe I'm just remembering it more fondly than I should. But like I was telling Dimebag in chat, I think it was a solid B plus. Like, it's not perfect. It feels like it was one of those last kind of $40, not, it's not B tier, but one of those non triple A games that did what they set out to do. And it's still pretty polished. It's not perfect, and it's got, like, there's not a billion different enemy types to fight or anything, and there's not 40 different guns, but I feel like what it does well, and it didn't overstay its welcome.
A lot of people like that game. Like, I'm pretty sure Knobs and Moonpier over at TVGP liked that game a lot, and I think most of the reviewers I listened to liked that game. It wasn't for me. But
I don't know it's going to be worth $60 if that's what they're asking for it.
no, not at all. But okay, so moving on to movies. April 13th. Riff Tracks Live, Samurai Cop.
Have you ever been to one of these things?
I'm confused. Riff Tracks Live? It's a live movie? Like, explain this to me.
So, okay. So I've been to one of these, and I actually forget what movie they did, but it's the guys from Riff Tracks. Are basically, I think they were in like Memphis or something like that. And what they do is they have a short little intro of these guys on this movie theater stage in Memphis or wherever they were, and they're beaming out to all the movie theaters. So they do a little intro, and then you have like a little bit of them, or maybe they were a picture-in-picture in the corner the whole time or something. They're at podiums reading their jokes like they're recording an episode of Riff Tracks. And then the movie is playing behind them for the audience in that movie theater. And then the movie itself, with maybe that picture-in-picture, gets beamed out to all these other select theaters. It was a lot more fun. It's going to come up in a minute here. I've been watching Mystery Science Theater 3000 again on Netflix because they released some sort of best of episodes, and boy, like, I know people love that show, and I know I'm the weirdo here, but I feel like that stuff's unwatchable.
Jesus.
But yeah, I know.
People
that's
adore that series. God.
I know.
And 15 years ago, I liked it, but I only ever watched it when I was drunk and hanging out with the girl I was dating at the time.
Well, the reason I bring it up is because I left that Riff Tracks Live going, man, that was a lot of fun. Like, I walked out of there going, oh, I'd do another one of those in a heartbeat. And I meant to, and they just come and go, and I didn't notice them. But yeah, if they're showing around you should check them out. It's not like they charge you $35 to get in. I think it's the price of a regular ticket. They're worth checking out, especially if you're not an insane person like me and you love Mystery Science Theater.
I might, I mean, everyone's, granted, Samurai Cop's been done to death by everyone, but, like, easy one to do to death, so, okay. The very next day, on the 14th, we find out the fate of the Furious. I I know everyone is just biting their nails wondering why Vin Diesel is making out with Charlize Theron, but like maybe it's because he can make out with Charlize Theron.
If I had the option,
I mean, just
yeah, I would
throwing
probably
that
take her
out
up on
there.
that.
I mean, do you want to like? You'd have to be ludicrous if you were
Hmm.
hanging out with. If you weren't, I'm sorry.
You would have to be made of rock.
Yeah, yeah. I mean,
I don't know anybody else in that movie.
I was trying to think of a pun with Statham's last name. Like, I mean, you'd have to be Statham with the
Nope.
losers if you weren't. Yeah, I don't know. Either way, that movie's gonna be really dumb, and I'm probably gonna. I say that. To me, I feel like this movie peaked. This series peaked at Fast Five, and I liked Fast Six and Fast Seven. I thought it was. I didn't like it. So I'm have very little faith on them actually producing another good movie. But I'm gonna go see it, and it'll be at least ridiculous and stupid, and if nothing else, at least for you know, a watch a movie to make fun of it kind of thing one time. But
I've
anywho,
never seen a single Fast and the Furious.
no,
But that's the thing. Like once they went into that like self-aware thing on five, like right around there, it seems like they quit taking themselves so seriously, but then totally took themselves way too seriously.
Well,
That's that same Bulletstorm thing that like I like. So I bet I'd like those once they sort of get a sense of humor about themselves.
honestly, like Fast Five retroactively made me like the other movies. Like the first movie is all about that stupid '90s car culture with everyone fucking putting glow lights and you know bumping like Hondas and shit like that, and it just entirely took itself super serious about that whole culture. And just, you know, Vin Diesel had all these really hammy lines. I take my life 1 mile at a time. It's like every piece of advice he had to do with a car. Like it was so fucking intolerable. And like
Well,
the second movie's
not
kind
for
of
nothing. That's not necessarily Fast and the Furious's problem. Back then, that was Vin Diesel's problem.
yeah.
Because in Chronicles of Riddick, I believe he has a line that says, it's been a long time since I smelled beautiful. And I was like, what? Fuck you, Vin. Like, come on, dude.
Yeah. I don't like honestly those movies everyone's talked them to death at this point. Like now that everyone is in on liking them and like whether they genuinely like them or just think they're stupid, they're still all together and celebrating it. So I don't know that I'm gonna add anything new to that conversation. But my advice, if you've never seen the series, but you're just tangentially familiar with it, watch Fast Five, and then go watch the rest of them. Like
At the very least, they all look like they're having a lot of fun making those movies. And, vaya con Dios.
they do have, you know, they do have fun stunts. Like Seven's problem was they got one of those directors who didn't like who wanted to show the action with 20 cuts, you know?
Aw.
Like they did that, and then they went from each character having their own specialty to every character being good at everything, which was another issue. Because before they had kind of the heist movie setup where everyone was, you know,
Or D&D, or, yeah.
yeah, they had a good separation of abilities, with only, you know, Vin Diesel's character being the god at everything character. But
D and Diesel.
and if he was bad at it, he would punch it, and then it would work. But anyway, what are we doing? TV.
We got some TV.
Yeah, we got it. We got to start getting to our other subjects. April 5th, Archer season 8 starts on FFX. FXX. Is it FFX or FXX?
FXX.
Okay. And then on April 10th, Better Call Saul season 3 comes out. I bet Randy's pretty excited about that.
Yeah, I'm bummed he couldn't make it tonight because I feel like he'd be pretty stoked about that.
Yeah.
He's been talking about it for a month. He's been trying to put it in every show since like February.
I need to watch season 2. I think that is either about to come to Netflix or just came. But anyway, speaking of streaming, on April 4th,
Hey, what about Archer? Did you say Archer? You said Archer.
I
Sorry.
said Archer. Did you want us to talk about Archer?
Just they're doing a basically think L.A. noir, like 1940s L.A. cop stuff. That's where they're going with this season. So I that show, I don't think they've had a bad season yet. So they're ending it here, I believe. I'm pretty sure. I love whatever they've done, and this seems like an awesome place to go. So I can't wait to see it in 2 years when it gets to Netflix.
Okay. Okay. So on 4/4, Dimension 404 comes out on Hulu, which is a 6-part sci-fi anthology series.
You'll be enthrologied.
I don't know anything about this. Is this something you're familiar with?
Yeah, a little bit. It seems like a. You remember we keep referring to Black Mirror as a super dark Twilight Zone. This seems like a less dark Black Mirror. It's got Mark Hamill does all the narration, so that tells you that there's narration in every show. So that seems Twilight Zoney. I know Patton Oswalt's either acting or is involved somehow. Like it's really only been on my radar like maybe the last week or so, but it looks pretty cool. So I may check that out. I don't have anything to do with Hulu, so this may be what gets them to, get me to try them out. I will tell you, it is not feasible for me to have a Hulu subscription, a Netflix subscription, and Amazon Prime, but I don't know. We'll just have to, I don't know. I'll have to try and see it however I can see it and play it by ear from there.
Yeah. I'll have to wait. When Hulu starts bringing out the Runaways TV series, I'll probably subscribe to them for a month and then cancel. So that would be when I would watch this if everyone likes it. So,
point of order, I looked it up, and Better Call Saul Season 2 came out to Netflix 3 days ago. So It is up right now.
I would like to watch that. So, great. Also on 4/4, Louis C.K.'s 2017 Netflix special is coming out. I like pretty much everything that dude does, so I will watch that. I've still been meaning to get on his website and pay him $10 or $20 to see that TV show that he funded, but because I've heard it's really, really good. I want him just to sell it to a streaming service or something.
Yeah, I don't really have an opinion about that. I know that generally anything the guy puts together, at least in the last 5-10 years, whether it's a stand-up or directing or producing, like, he has a very good vision. And granted, he's got generally almost sole creative control of all this stuff. It certainly didn't really work for Lucky Louie back in the 90s or whatever. But I feel as he's kind of matured into someone who really can kind of do whatever they want and be good at it, aside from like jogging or something.
Yeah. Yeah. April 7th, The Get Down Part 2 comes out. I am fucking ready. I love The Get Down Part 1. I'm ready for Part 2. I've been tempted to watch The Get Down Part 1 again, but I just haven't. But anyway, so that's exciting. I'm excited for the music for it. I'm actually more interested, I think, to purchase the soundtrack to The Get Down Part 1. So, but whatevs. And then April 14th, Mystery Science Theater 3000 hits Netflix.
Yeah, I've already made my opinions on that clear, and the cast of this one, besides Patton Oswalt, is not helping. Was it Jonah Ray? Is that the dude from Nerdist who's quote-unquote hosting this one?
Oh, right. Oh, okay. I don't know who from Nerdist is on it, but Felicia Day is the one who's... That's what you were saying.
She drives me up the wall because she fucking loves herself, and I can't stand that. And then, like, the only reason I can watch Dr. Horrible anymore is because I know that she dies, and she dies in public. Anyway, spoilers for Dr. Horrible. The dude from Nerdist, like, who's super hipstery, I can't. That dude gets on my nerves too, and like, so I don't know. I guess I have to. I can't, in good conscience, continue to not like this season or the show, and not give this a fair shake, because then I can't talk shit about it. So I guess I will have to at least watch a little bit of it.
Okay.
I mean, grumble.
Yeah, get on, take a breath, quit getting wild.
Mm-hmm. So, Breath of the Wild, real quick, has already been cracked for the PC. It is running on an emulator. It's not perfect. There is still some stuff. I don't think you can quite finish the game yet, but, obviously these guys know what they're doing, so I'm sure they'll get that fixed. Story's it kind of came out like right after our last cast, so I had to Google it to kind of remind myself and see if there was anything super weird about the story. And it was 2 pages of Google results before I actually found a story about it being cracked. Those 2 pages were all torrents to download it, just straight up downloads, which that seems trustworthy. Cracked versions, you name it, all just here's 2 pages full of places where you can steal Breath of the Wild. And all that, I guess, it's interesting because generally people seem to have a lot of trouble emulating Nintendo's consoles. But sort of what I kind of wanted to ask you about, and I still don't know if I have a firm opinion on this, but a lot of the comments in that story were saying, coming from people who were saying like, yo, I'm not buying a Switch. That's not happening. They're not, whether they're not available in your area or they're crazy expensive right now or all that weird scamming shit that's going on Amazon where people are like saying they'll sell them for either cost or $200 or something like that, and they don't actually have any in stock, and somehow they end up keeping your money or something. Like all that, whatever aside, there are a lot of people saying like, all right, so what if I go out and buy a physical copy of Breath of the Wild and then download this via whatever torrent? And like, I guess in a sense that's kind of legit, but I don't know. What do you think about that, John? Because the idea behind torrenting something is you have a backup of software you already own, but if that's tied to a hardware that you don't own, what do you think about that?
I honestly, I'm kind of all right. Well, okay. How do I want to say this? I think anything that's not readily available, then yeah, go get the fucking ROM and the emulator. And you know what? If you have old games that, for instance, that you want to stream or something, like say if someone wanted to stream Ogre Battle, which I may have done, and you couldn't get the emulator to work with your physical copy that you own, then you might have just accidentally stumbled onto a digital copy to run it. Like,
well, to me, that's a much easier argument to make. You know, not only are we talking super old games, this thing has been in stores for 2 or 3 weeks. I don't know how I feel about it.
I'm not much of a moral person is the problem asking me that. I generally try and hide that about myself. Like, I used to be very morally judgy. I admit that. That was years ago. It still comes out every once in a while. I am a hypocrite, but every human being in the world's a hypocrite. And if you think you aren't, then you're just lying to yourself. But so I've kind of a fuck it all kind of view on life and things to a degree, unfortunately. But like on this, like on the one hand, yeah, I kind of think that like if you went and bought a copy and then downloaded the torrent stuff, who gives a fuck? Like, that's awesome. I think that's great. But obviously Nintendo wants to sell their system. Like,
and it's a console exclusive, and it's first party,
yeah.
And the system just came out. Like, you've given them the money for the software. So there's that, but it's proprietary software to fit. You know, maybe this is... I don't know that this is a real good parallel, but it feels like kind of the right to repair stuff. Like, if you bought it, you should own it. Or like, these people who have, like Caterpillar won't allow people, like if you need to repair your tractor, you got to bring it to Caterpillar because they don't have licensed dealers. Like, that seems super shitty to me. And I don't know that there's a direct comparison between there and here, but I feel like I'm kind of coming at them the same way and going like, yeah, but I gave you what you were asking for the software.
Well, at the same time, the other argument here is kind of the traditional argument, about piracy is those people do not translate to sales.
Well, that's why I'm more of 2 minds about this, because piracy, fuck that. I won't ever do it. I think it's shitty when people do it. And people have reasons to justify it, and I'm not going to say whether I think those are valid or not, because obviously it's a case-by-case basis. But I think in general it's a shitty thing to do. Here, you're not pirating anything in a sense, because, and this is going on the assumption that you really did go buy the $60 game. That this is not just people going, no, I got it as a demo to see if I was going to buy it, and they're just blowing smoke up your ass. Like, this is predicated on that you literally have the disc in your hand when you click the mouse. I don't know. I'm sorry, that wasn't supposed to go on a big long thing.
I mean,
I,
I don't know the answer to that either. Like, I don't like the idea of getting illegal digital copies of new games that just came out. Period. Like, that doesn't sit well with me. I'd rather see the devs get those monies, but at the same time, like, it's weird if you break down a dev fee. Like when you're like, okay, let's say how much this costs. You know, let's say they have 100 employees, all paid $70,000 a year, living like bums in a really expensive city like New York or or L.A. or something, and you wind up doing the math and you find that they really don't have like a very big profit margin on games, but at the same time, all the money you just did the math for goes towards paying their salaries, so the rest of the money is just going towards the advertising budget and
when the publisher, fucking them out of, just like it, the movie studios will, where they just, inflate the math however they want, so it looks like you made a lot less than you actually did, and fucking you out of your whatever. Like all that stuff aside, in this case, it's predicated on them that $60 already getting split up, however it gets split up.
yeah.
I don't know.
I
I don't know.
I don't know. I guess the other part is that like I have a natural anti-bias towards Nintendo at this point, just because I haven't cared about their shit for a long time, and I don't want to spend $300 on another console right now. I want to spend $1,000 on a new computer is what I want to do, and I don't have that. um,
I'm
and,
sorry. I turned this into a wasteland. I'm sorry.
oh, my bad. I'll retire the
I've just destroyed
conversation.
I've destroyed the entire podcast, and I feel like if we keep going on this, we're gonna have to not talk about the 5, 6 things we have left to talk about. So,
Well, real quick, Dimebag in the chat says I was gonna get Persona digitally, but now you guys made me feel bad. Like Atlas, like if you own a PS4 or a PS3, um, Atlas does sales on the Persona games all the fucking time, like every other month. I guarantee you they're gonna have sales on them with Persona 5 coming out at some point in the next month, and you'll be able to get Persona 1 for $5, I'm sure. It may not be the good version of that game is the PSP version, and I don't know that you're going to get that version. I'm willing to bet you're going to get the original PlayStation version, which didn't have a great translation, but at the end of the day, it's basically the same game. But just something to keep in mind.
yeah, and we're not talking about buying stuff from the PS store or Xbox Live or anything. And whether you only buy stuff on sale is a different conversation that I feel is a lot easier to have, but not tonight.
Yeah, no, I think we're just talking about stealing from the internet, like Googling Breath of the Wild, going to Pirate Bay, downloading it, and playing it. Cutting everyone who worked on it out of the money for the game. Whereas buying it digitally on PS4, your money in some fashion is going to go back to Atlas and Sony. And
Or
Atlas
whatever
is,
the situation is, everyone's agreed to the distribution of the money if you buy it from
yeah,
unauthorized source.
exactly.
Whether that's buying a copy from Toys R Us or buying it digitally off their store.
yeah. So anyway, we could probably talk about this all night. So let's.
That's
keep
what I'm
moving.
worried about.
Brian Fargo announced he was going to retire after Wasteland 3 releases, which is about 3 years. If you've listened to this show, you've probably heard me talk about Brian Fargo a lot. But if you haven't or just forgotten, Brian Fargo used to run... holy shit, I just forgot the name of his old fucking company. Interplay? That's the name of it, isn't it? Interplay.
That sounds right.
Yeah. And they gave BioWare some of their first work, and Interplay released all the RPG juggernauts in the West back in the late 90s, early 2000s. Like they're the ones who brought out Torment Tides of Numenera. They're the ones who brought out Fallout 1 and 2. Like Brian Fargo, one of his first games, or maybe it was his first game, was Bard's Tale back in 1983 or 4 or something like that.
Jesus, is it that old?
Might be 86, but yeah, it's old. The original Bard's Tale is really old. So, like, the guy's been around. He's done a lot. He had a pretty big slump, after Interplay. InXile didn't do too great, and then they, hopped on the crowdfunding bandwagon with Wasteland 2, and Torment Tides of Numenera and Wasteland 3 I'm sure is going to be great, and I'm sure Bard's Tale 4 will be great. So I don't blame him. You know, he's made his money. He's got his name in the industry, and they may not be writing about him on Polygon all the time like they do Hideo Kojima or something, but I mean, the guy has his fans and the people who acknowledge the things he's at least arranged, if not taken part in. So, like on the one hand, I'll be bummed that guy's not heading those studios anymore because it'll make me worry that those studios won't be as good. But on the other hand, that's fucking awesome, dude. I'd wish you well. So, but that's also 3 years away, so who the fuck knows?
Yeah, and there's a lot of folks who, you know, I mean, let's be honest, are kind of self-started where, you know, they retire or maybe start sort of stepping back from the business or whatever, and like maybe, I'm not saying this is the case here, but like, you know, maybe they're a control freak and that's how their business got to be so good, and like maybe they're not okay giving up some of that stuff, or they think people are making the decision that they wouldn't make and decide to come back, or maybe they just miss it, you know, like who's to say?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
But what he could be doing in retirement is playing a game that is supposed to be out soon-ish, that just sort of... I got an email about this thing directly. You know, it was a mass email, but it came right to my email account. I didn't find out about this via some website or anything. The Secret World is kind of doing what seems like a soft reboot. They are not touching the servers at all. Now, the Secret World is that sort of Cthulhu-ish modern MMO with a lot of Stephen King elements. Really good, real pretty. I like the writing a lot on it. I think there's a lot of real clever, unusual MMO quests. The combat's just a little rough, so it's tough to stay with. But anyway, they're doing a soft reboot of the Secret World, and they're calling it the super awesomely titled Secret World Legends. We don't really know a lot about it yet. It sounds like it's going to be an action RPG. Well, that's what they're calling it, so I don't know if that means Diablo-style isometric stuff or behind-the-back camera shooty stuff. I don't know. It's going to be free to play. I think if you're already giving them money or something, you can sort of transfer some of the perks over that you already pay for to this new service, but all the characters and stuff, from what I understand, are going to be started from scratch. So I'm really excited to see what they can do with that, because that feels like the only piece that they needed to fix. So I'm excited, and supposedly it's out spring of this year, so we're looking at 2 months maybe.
Cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, if that isn't spring like March.
I think officially everyone considers spring sort of ending in June.
Oh, okay.
Which seems late to me, but whatever.
It doesn't matter. All our seasons are going to be different anyway. Once, you know,
yeah,
between global warming and nuclear winter, like it's all going to flip around. So
hellscape, flooding, nuclear winter goes back into hellscape. Yeah, it'll be great.
And then a new dawn will. Anyway, we're going to talk about Horizon Zero Dawn again because I beat it. I have beaten Horizon Zero Dawn.
Congratulations, a winner is you.
Yeah, I really like that game. There were parts that I got a little stuck on for a while that were very frustrating. I
thought you did all the hard parts in the wrong order last cast.
Well,
what else did you run into that was a problem?
I don't know. There were certain battles, like it was kind of main story battles. And it was just stuff where I was not damaging guys, and I was just going through my usual weapons, and it just was not working out. And it just took like an hour to beat them. Like I think one of them was I want to say it was a corrupted Thunderjaw. And then,
oh yeah, fire.
And then we seemed to have opposite issues with the last boss battle. And
no. The Thunderjaw, you cheese those motherfuckers. That's why you had a problem. Are you talking about the hunt where you had the 2 corrupted Thunderjaws, where they're in that sort of canyon and you're behind like an arch? Like an arch is the entry into this canyon?
I don't know. I don't think that's what happened.
Okay. You got to fight 2 of these guys for one of like the hunts. You know, where it's like, go to this area, there's real badass versions of this guy, go kill him. Or the corrupted zone, sorry. The corrupted zone with them, you just cheese them because they're leashed. So you just treat it like it's an MMO and just figure out where their boundary is, and then just pepper them full of fire as they're running away, and then aggro them again, and just do that, rinse and repeat.
Gotcha. Well, and then the other battle, like I was really digging the flow of the end of the game. Like I liked a lot of the story beats they were doing and some of the sections. And then I had to fight kind of that last bad guy that you fight, and just could not damage the thing worth a shit. And
Really?
every time I died on it, it would restart me in the fight, but I would not have any of the items I had just used trying to damage him previously. So like by the end, like I literally had no potions or anything, and then randomly figured out that because I'd been shooting him with freaking tear blast arrows like the whole time, and nothing was fucking falling off of him. And then I eventually figured out the tear blaster, which I never use because I have to get so close to guys for it. Just immediately ripped shit off of him and just ripped off all of his weapons, and then it was 1,000 times easier. But it took me like an hour to get to that point.
I think I plugged him with just my regular, like, there's two versions of regular arrows, like the regular ones and then the super sharp ones or whatever.
Hard point.
There you go. I hung back and plugged his dangly bits with those until they all fell off, and it was like he looked like Wheatley. He was just this little sphere sitting there looking all pathetic, and I beat his ass and like I one-shot him. I think it took me maybe 4 minutes. I had zero trouble.
Gotcha.
Horizon, zero trouble.
Well, and I didn't do everything in that game, but I did most stuff. Like I didn't do all the corrupted zones, and I didn't get all the metal flowers and shit like that. And I didn't craft everything because it was really annoying coming up with all the fucking animal skins and shit with random drops. Like, seriously, just give me the goddamn fish bones.
Yeah, and like I said, you generally don't need to do most of that. You find whatever bag is in the weapons you're using that lets you get more ammo for those. Maybe the potion bags, and that's kind of all you need to do.
Yeah. But I really like that game. I like the voice acting. I like the characters. It's, I actually kind of hope they'll go in more of a, like, if they do a sequel, what I'm hoping they do is they say, okay, look, we have a cool combat system. We have a good setup. We made a pretty okay open world, but the open world was almost more like a sandbox, in that while they laid out cities in kind of a logical fashion and populated them, but there wasn't really anything to do in the cities. So I hope they sprinkle like a little bit of like Elder Scrolls or Red Dead into it, where there are other activities.
Aloy's playing poker.
Yeah, I don't, sure. I don't care. Just, something like that to make it just a little bit more open world RPG-ish. Like I even thought the side quests were okay in that. Like, I mean, they aren't great, but like,
some of them are real good.
Yeah.
Like the one with the girl who's sending signal fires to her boyfriend that she's not supposed to be talking to.
Oh yeah, yeah.
That's the first one that jumps to mind.
Yeah, that was that had a nice ending. I liked. I mean, a nice ending. That did not have a nice ending.
Nope.
But it could have been worse. Like I really thought it was gonna get worse, but
it had a satisfying ending.
Yeah. And
just what? The dialogue trees, the choices you can make as Aloy on how you speak to people. Like, I never really had a problem with what came out of her mouth, even though you don't necessarily know what she's going to say. Like,
yeah,
none of them were poorly written. The delivery was great on all of them. I don't know. I thought that was, I wouldn't call it nearly perfect, but it was definitely above a 9 out of 10.
Well, and like, the thing I also like about those choosing your decisions, like most of them are not actual story paths or anything. It's just how you talk to people. I only chose the angry choice once. And do you know when it was? Like, while trying to dodge spoilers.
Yeah, I know that I only picked that choice maybe twice. And one was for the little shit that pitched a rock at you.
God.
When you meet him later on.
Oh, okay.
And then there was one other time where I was like, no, fuck you, son, no.
Was the other time near the end?
Almost assuredly, yes.
Okay. It had to have been. If it was the douchebag I'm thinking of, like, that guy was just, I was about to pick it and I looked at Susie, I'm like, I'm going to do this. And she's like, yeah, I would too. That guy was such a fucking dick. Oh, that felt good killing him. Anyway, yeah, that's a great game. I recommend it. I look forward to future entries in the set. Oh, well, okay, I can't get into it in spoiler discussions, but they
I
didn't.
would like to. They're not going to do this because they have a character that people very much like, and they probably think they're going to want to build a franchise around her, and I understand all that. But the way I think I would like to see this go is you keep all those teams that worked on this game. Don't drop everybody and then restaff again like video game companies love to do. But set it in a different part of the country, a different continent, and just see how stuff might have developed somewhere else. I mean, I'm sure it's not going to be the same way that things evolved here for spoiler reasons, but I think they could probably come up with other cool concepts, and I sort of want to see how they do that. Because you got that Fallout thing where, like, here's the Capital Wasteland, here's the Mojave, like, all that stuff. I think they could do that kind of thing, and it would be cool.
I think that game definitely has that potential. I'm just bummed that what they did at the very end after the credits, I kind of, like, they had a potential for other villains in the game, I think, personally, that they didn't take them up on.
I missed that. I hit the start button or whatever, wandered off something. I didn't know that there was a post-credit scene.
Oh, okay. Well, now you know. Go look it up. You can be disappointed too.
Maybe I won't.
Maybe not. I mean, maybe it.
No, I mean maybe I won't look it up.
Oh, okay. 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 So we both started Mass Effect Andromeda.
Mm-hmm. I got a bit of a list here, so I think I'm gonna let you go first.
Okay. I honestly, I was telling Jake before the show, I kind of played through the intro and got through EOS, and then I was like, I'm just gonna go beat Horizon because it wasn't super grabbing me. I can tell, like, people brought up Mass Effect 1 a lot. They definitely, I think, used Mass Effect 1 for their kind of skeletal story blueprint because I think that intro mission has a lot of parallels to Mass Effect 1. I don't like Ryder as much as Shepard. I don't think he's as... I chose the dude.
Did you name him Richard?
I did.
Okay, see, I knew you were going to do that, so I made it a point to name mine Dick to sully your Richard Ryder.
Oh, man.
He's a Dick Ryder, goddammit.
Oh, man.
So the cosmic balance remains.
I'm glad you picked the dude and not the chick, because that would be fucked up if you named...
Yeah, that would have been super gross.
Like, it's kind of funny, but it's also like, come on now. That's a little bit too machoism. But
although I guess Scott Ryder would have been okay, except with just one T, because you got that hot Scottish redhead who's flying you around space. You could be a Scott Ryder.
If you put one T, then I'd just be thinking Scat Ryder the whole time.
Well, I mean, look, I don't know what her proclivities are yet. Maybe that's a thing.
Yeah.
I don't know. She won't flirt with me yet.
But yeah, I'm playing the game on PC, so like, and I can only run it on medium settings. If I do any higher, then it starts, frame rate dropping pretty hard.
How are your load times?
Not great. Like, I mean, there's no speeding up the fucking galaxy shit, Why do you have to see the planet that you're on whenever is that necessary? Like, can't you at least, I assume they don't show the ship in the console versions when you're flying around. It's just these big fucking camera swoops from planet to planet, right?
That's exactly what it is. I think it's one of their myriad of hidden loading screens.
Yeah, I mean, it's gotta be. But why do you need to load a planet that has nothing on it? And
nobody knows.
They're always... This is something that's driving me nuts. Everything that the game instructs you to do, it doesn't tell you the last button to press to do it. Like, okay, fly the planet, press spacebar, okay, we're there. Okay, so we're at the planet, so scan it, press the left mouse button, okay. Oh, there's an anomaly, go over here, and I'm at the anomaly, now what? Oh, I'll just press buttons until something happens. Okay, there, something happened. Hopefully that is all I can do with the planet, and hopefully I got whatever the fuck it was.
Well, yeah, and I have a lot of problems with this game. So before we get into any of that stuff, I want to say that I like the combat a lot. The conversations, while not well written or necessarily well voice acted, are starting to grow on me. There are starting to be some interesting scenarios. Uh, I'm even starting to like some of the planets and places you go. So with all that said, like I will continue playing this game. I've sort of rage quit for the moment, but I will be going back to it. I think right now it's maybe a C plus B minus. That being said, there is so much technical bullshit in this game, and one of the most irritating ones is there's load screens, whether they're hidden or explicit. They're super long, and even when they're over, they're not over. And I have a story about that at the end of my fucking diatribe list. But that's one of the things that pisses me off the most, is you have all these little mini loading screens in space when you're going from planet to planet. So not only does it have to establish itself on the planet you're on, then swoop out of there, swoops over to the other planet, then it reestablishes the shot that it's going to stay static on. Most of these planets don't have a fucking thing on them. And so you'll go to a system, and it'll be like, okay, there's one city here, and then there's maybe an anomaly in space, and then there's maybe one anomaly on a planet. Okay, but there's like maybe 7 or 8 planets in this system. So if you only go to those 3 places that actually have something worth looking at, and you zoom back out, it's going to say you're 32% done with this system. Even though going back and finding that other 68% is just, you're basically just loading assets over and over and over. I mean, yeah, you get a tiny description of what that planet's deal is, but I don't think I've gotten to one yet where you have to scroll down. So literally the description of all these planets fits within, I don't know, 10 lines. Oh, it drives me insane.
You know, they probably would have been better if instead of making you the person going and discovering this shit, they made it, oh, you came, like, the first wave's already here and set up a bunch of places, and there's already, like, 100 or 200 years of history here, and you're just the newest cryosleep arrival, you know?
I think that would have been a much better idea. I mean, it would have made it much more difficult to make you the savior of, every single species in the universe. But yeah, I mean,
like,
you will get to some planets where there's people there already, like other species, but even those don't feel like they're super lived in.
Yeah, well, and I haven't gotten that far, but I mean, I do agree with like Austin Walker on Waypoint. I really liked the planet descriptions in the first one and all the weird little bits of history and things, and you don't get any of that here. But
well, no, because there's almost no civilizations anywhere. You find 2 species. One are good guys, one are bad guys. And the good guys, I think, were only on maybe 2 planets. So you have 9 or 10 systems of planets that are just full of fucking nothing. And the data that's on these when you visit them is basically just survey data with maybe a little blip like, oh, we lost some debris here because we sent a survey pod or droid or whatever. Some sort of telemetry satellite was sitting here. And that's the flavor text you get for this planet, in addition to, shit's real hot down there, yo.
I mean, another way they could have done it is if they actually already had just a different galactic race of, people down here that you then had to fucking, make do with and try and, become a part of, and then get a planet that they sanction, and then get maybe history from them on the area, so that as you're going through, you're learning what information they fed you. And then they could probably do a cool, Bioshock-esque story thing where it's, oh no, it turns out they edited all these parts of history out, or I don't know.
That's cool.
I feel like I could think of a lot of good ideas for this. Like, I don't hate Mass Effect Andromeda. Like, I think it's okay. I don't like...
Hey, John? You just hit your desk and your camera is now pointing at your dick.
Ah, god damn it. Okay. Well,
which, I mean, I'm not complaining. I just know there's a lot of viewers.
Soak it up. Soak it up.
Yeah.
So, and I kill my... Okay. Okay, I'm back. So, and I don't like... You mentioned you really like the combat. Like, I like the idea of the combat. I don't necessarily like the combat. Like, I like...
It starts out real bad.
I like what they are going for, but the problem is the Mass Effect combat, especially in 3, was so fucking tight. Like, those levels were so well designed in terms of cover and moving around and assigning your guys to places and having these combo maneuvers. And this one just feels so haphazard. Like, I can tell I'd been thinking up until it released that, oh, they're just building on the Mass Effect engine, but that's not true at all. They rebuilt it in a whole new engine in Frostbite, I think, and you could tell
That's
that
correct.
they don't quite know how to use this thing right because they are not getting as tight a design as they had previously. Like the Mass
Well,
Effect.
I think your complaint about stuff being mushy as far as the cover goes, that is absolutely legitimate. I don't know that I'm ever going to get super used to that, but I'm learning to work with it, which is how I feel about a lot of this game.
Well, so far I don't even use the cover. Like I play this like I'm playing that Transformers game War Within or whatever, where I just okay, here's a wall. I'm going to kind of hide behind it without actually touching it, so I don't go up to it.
Right,
And,
right. That's what I'm saying.
yeah.
But I think one of the things that made it a lot more tolerable is once you start kind of crafting stuff a little bit and sort of finding some more shops and drops and stuff, you're going to be able to find a weapon that's a lot more accurate than any of those garbage assault rifles that they give you to start with. And that goes a long way when you're actually, the shots are going where you want them to.
Well,
That goes a long way towards making that game feel better, along with getting a couple of powers and being able to sort of combo some stuff.
well, and I'm kind of setting it up so far as the powers that I liked previously. Like I'm running, because previously I always played the, is it the tactician? I can't remember what it was, but the one that came with the sniper rifle and was kind of,
Overload, concussive shot.
yeah, that type of stuff. So, but I'm not actually like I'm mixing matching with my favorite, biotic stuff. So I'm slowly building up my biotics. I took the, was it the avalanche one, whatever one that shoots the biotic stream out in front of you and knocks everyone over, earthquake or something.
That one's super cool. PB has that on my squad, but I never see her using it. I went straight into push, pull, because God, I will never get sick of pulling a dude up into the air, having him float there, and then throwing a full strength push at him, and just watching him sail just off into, like, he might not come back. He just might be in orbit now. It is kind of a bummer then when they literally hit the top of the skybox and fall all the way back down. And it's not a short size skybox, but you can watch their 2 frame a minute animation because they're so small, just go poink and bounce off the skybox and fall. For 18, 20 seconds, this dude's fallen, and then he's got, like, I don't know, a 20th of his health left, and maybe a 12th of his health left, falls literally probably through the atmosphere and just gets right back up and starts running back to the fight from, 16 or 17 blocks away wherever he landed. Like, on some level, it's funny, and I kind of, like, it's almost funnier that way, so I let it go, but it's like, I wanted him to just splat,
Yeah. Oh, man.
That stuff's super fun. Like, the trick, I think, you only have access to 3 powers at a time, and you don't get to control your teammates using their powers anymore. So I feel like you kind of really have to rely on yourself to have everything. So you sort of need, some type of armor destruction, some type of shield destruction, and then some type of, immobilizing thing. So I got overload and then push and pull, and if I run into someone who's got a lot of armor, I just gotta hope that I found some incendiary ammo. I don't know. So is that most of your stuff? Can I go to my list?
Yeah, go for it. Well,
Okay.
and just so you know, we'll run a tiny bit long tonight.
Okay.
If you got time for it, at least.
Yeah. We kind of had a hunch this was going to happen. Okay, so, and I'll try and run through this pretty quick. I've had a ton of technical issues with this game, and this is why I've sort of the disc is ejected right now. I will maybe go back to it, but like I spent a couple of days and just playing other stuff, goofing around, watching TV, whatever. And last night I came back to it, and there is this thing that they did in World of Warcraft when you got your own, I don't know, like your own barracks and own city and all that stuff, to where you could send dudes out on like timed quests, and it would be done in 6 hours or whatever, and then you could come back and they would have gotten whatever and leveled up, and you expand your dudes and all that. They have that same thing here, and it's called the Strike Team. So you can either, in a lot of cases, do multiplayer to do some of these strike team missions and get bonuses, or in, I think, all cases, you can send out one of your strike team squads, which you start with one. I think I'm up to 3 now. You need to be online for those all the time. And this thing disconnects all the time. I don't think I've stayed connected for more than half an hour or 35 minutes. You?
I haven't tried the I barely touched that, honestly. Like, I downloaded the app, and like once a day I'll get on it.
Oh, shit, there's an app?
Actually, I haven't even done it once a day. I try once every other day. But yeah, there's an app.
Oh, well, shit, I'm going to do that then because I don't, like, anytime I'm playing, within 20, sometimes it'll go 45 minutes, you get that notification that, like, hey, man, you're offline now. We don't know what happened, but you're offline. And I hit the guide button, and all my friends' list pulls right up and all that. And I'm like, so I'm online, but their servers went down?
Yeah, I don't even wait for it to tell me I'm online when I load my game. Like, I did it first, and then I would immediately go offline, so now I just don't care.
Well, now that I know there's an app, there's no other reason to be online unless you want to play multiplayer.
Yeah.
So I'm going to do that. But what the problem was, so, like, if you're not online, you can only get back online from the main menu. So if you turned it off from the night and you resumed and the thing just loaded back up the way the Xbox games are supposed to do, well, you're offline. So you have to quit out of wherever you were, go to the main menu, wait for the main menu to load, and then you hit A to actually, it says main menu loads, it says hit A to get to the menu. You hit that, there's another short load. And then you have to wait for the servers to connect. So then that's a little bit of the load. Then you hit resume to go back to where you were when you started the game back up, and then that has to load. And so what that does is that loads the whole thing, and it shows you a screen or whatever. If you're, in this case, I was on the very cool-looking model of, it's not the Normandy, the Tempest? Is it?
I think that's right, yeah. I do like the ship, and I like the ship layout. I'll give them that.
The layout's great. It looks fucking awesome from the outside. I like all that stuff. But, so it loads up, and, it's showing the load screen picture or whatever. That fades to black. Awesome. The meter filled up, that fades to black. Then while it's black, you get the white and red circle loading thing down in the bottom right. Okay, we got another one. I wish you wouldn't have filled up the bar if you were going to give me another fucking loading screen, but fine. So I load that up. I'm standing at, basically right next to the helm. I got to run to the back to go to my strike team little console thing. None of the doors are open. It's still loading this. So now you got another load there. I run to the back. I start at my strike team. I have 3 dudes to deploy, and 4 rewards to pick up. I deploy 2 of the dudes, disconnected. You went offline. Go back out to the fucking main menu. Start this shit all over again. It's been 12 minutes, and I haven't played this game yet. I ejected. Fuck it. I'm done. I get so mad.
Yeah, that sounds annoying. Honestly, like, the second I saw that game, I'm like, oh, this is their app game. Like, and went and looked for Mass Effect Andromeda on the iTunes store. Because I remember how, they were pretty proud of themselves for that fucking click and wait app that they made for Mass Effect 3, so...
So, I guess that's a better solution. What I would like is for their servers to stay up. But even that, it's... I can deal with load. I can deal with long loading screens. Bloodborne had super long loads. But I could deal with it because kind of once you got in, that was sort of the only load you had. Mass Effect is just jumping huge loads all over my face, neck, and chest. Which I could almost deal with if it was sort of a Skyrim deal where, yeah, the initial loads are pretty big, but they're pretty rare. Here, it's anytime... and I could live with it, like when you're going down to Eos, which I call Tatooine, or in the next ice planet, which I call Hoth, or the one after that, which is a jungle planet, which is Kashyyyk. But anyway, when you're going from your ship down to one of these things, I get it. You're loading a lot of assets. There's generally no loads when you're traversing around the world. Okay, I can live with it. I see what you did with that loading time. When you go back up to your ship, yeah, there's a bunch of models to load, But it shouldn't be a 2-minute load plus a mini 20-second load, and then another 45 seconds where any of the doors will open to get you out of your helm. Because I don't know what they're doing with that. The ship has 9 rooms.
You know, it makes me wonder if they just transitioned to Frostbite like a year or two ago, and then just tried to move all their assets over and it didn't work out. Because this game really could have used another half year to year in the oven, I think.
Well, on top of that, the models don't even always load. I had one of the things early is oh, by the way, Clancy Brown is in this. He's your dad. You, as you might expect, your dad's the Pathfinder, and at some point you know you're going to be the Pathfinder, so you know something has to happen to your dad. So you're going around these worlds getting his memories, which I guess is a thing, even though he's never been to any of these planets.
Yeah, that was weird to me.
Right?
He's basically Nihilus from the first game. We'll just say that. Okay, yeah, I just spoiled it. My bad. Whatever. I spoiled the first hour of the game. My fault.
When you get one of these when you get enough of these memories, you can go to your node on the Nexus, which is the citadel of this game, and you can actually, like, first person, go into one of those memories that your dad had. And it's all still voiced by Clancy Brown. It's super rad. Well, there was one where it was a flashback to you as Clancy Brown talking to, you know, the 2 Ryder kids and his wife, and the twin Ryder, who in this case is the sister, just didn't load. But Clancy Brown, in first person, is still having a conversation with the model that never loaded in front of his wife and son, who are watching him have a conversation with the woman who isn't there. And even more than that, it shows what she says in the subtitles, but there was no voice. So, like, you have all these loading times, and then you have weird shit like that, and models just gliding across planets because when you walked up to where they were supposed to be, they were 70 feet over there, and the game caught it, and then just slid them over to where they were supposed to be at warp speed. And even then, they might pop in until you get to 10 feet of them. Not to mention the freezing, hitching, crashing. I've had to quit to desktop 6 times on this. I've had 2 loading screens that ran for 5-10 minutes before I decided to make it quit. I want to like this game, and there's stuff in here to like, and it just keeps fucking fighting me at every turn.
I have not had those technical issues on PC. I've not had any infinite load. Like, all in all, I probably put 4 or 5 hours into this game. Because that first planet, EOS takes for fucking ever to get through. Especially when you're not quite sure how to get from one place to another, and you don't quite realize that you have to change to all-wheel drive to get up somewhere with your vehicle initially at first. But anyway, besides
that gets better.
The only glitchy things I've seen is there was a conversation where Richard Ryder was talking to his crew, and his head turned a little bit too far back. That was a little weird. And then the other one was it chose a couple of conversation choices for me.
That's an issue.
Yeah. Luckily, they were benign, so I didn't really go back and reload or anything. I just quit the game and called it a day that day. But
none of the conversation choices really end up mattering anyway.
Yeah,
until at least you get to the quote-unquote boss of the second planet. And that shit is really cool. And it's stuff like that gets me to keep playing it. But by and large, none of that matters.
So far, my current theory is that they want to not really have any player choice that impacts anything at all so far. So that's... Like, I'm pretty sure player choice exists to get laid and determine what type of research a facility does or something, but I'm skeptical.
Well, there's a thing that happens at the end of Hoth where you have to make a decision that actually seems like it's going to be pretty important. I don't know that down the line, like, I made a decision that pissed a lady off real bad, and she's real pissed at me right now. And she kind of, like, insinuated, like, I told her I did what I had to do, and she was like, yeah, well, maybe you won't like it when I have to do something that I think I have to do. And, like, I'm hoping that pays off. So, like, that decision and then what happened immediately afterwards before I left that building were super cool. And like that's what I want more of.
Well, I hope there's some decisions. I'm ready to get one of my human character companions killed. Just clone that decision from the first one. I'm ready to get rid of him. I'm sad because the first time I went out onto a planet, I didn't realize it gave me a team changing prompt. And I continued not to realize it for a huge chunk of time because I would have
Oh no.
immediately put the Turian in.
She's pretty cool. I like her.
Yeah, I don't know why Mass Effect. It's funny. It's a game that is obsessed with going rah rah humanity, but its best characters are always the aliens.
Yeah. Yeah, every human is just a boring or dumb or
Yeah,
racist piece of shit.
yeah, and I don't understand what is happening with the creative leads for these games. That situation just is always the case. Like, I mean, that was the thing about the third one too. Like, that's part of what I think made some of their story choices bad was because they had that attitude. But anyway,
I don't know. I'm gonna keep playing it. There's a lot to like here, and you know what? Some of the glitches are even funny. At this first, there's kind of it seems like there's a mega base for the bad guys who I want to call like the Zet or something.
I think yeah, it's two T's. Ket. It's the Ket.
Ket. There you go. There's the Ket at least so far seem to have mega bases on each planet that sort of function as the end boss of that planet in some respects. And the first one I was having a lot of trouble with. So I thought I would bring not the Nomad. Yes, the Nomad, because it's not the Mako. I thought I would bring the Nomad up there, even though it doesn't have any weapons, and just start like running motherfuckers over. And I got it caught on like one of those real skinny bridges that you probably haven't seen yet. But this whole thing is over a bottomless pit, effectively. And so I fell off, and this thing just like teetering, and very slowly tipped and fell off, and there was nothing I could do, and just kept loading that over and over and over. Like, I went at that for like 25 minutes and couldn't get back up onto the thing. Like, it's funny, but I'm not going to say that's the game's fault. Like, I could have clearly fixed that immediately, and I done fucked up. Like, I knew I was risking that when I went out there. So, like, some of this stuff's fun, and I want to keep playing, and I want to like it, but God help me, they're really trying to make me not.
Well, I'll at least play until Persona 5 comes out on Tuesday, and then I'm probably going to shelve it until I'm done with Persona 5. So, real quick, Dimebag in chat says, were you guys satisfied making your characters? Just quick note on this game. Everyone in this game is borderline ugly as shit. Like, I don't know, and maybe you don't have the same opinion on this as me, Jake, but like, I literally rolled my first guy. I could not get him to look anything like I wanted him to. And then played 20 minutes with him, realized how much I was going to have to look at his dog ugly face, and then started a new game and put more effort into making someone like less hideous.
It's almost like everyone has been stung by bees for 600 years. Like, they all just sort of look like puffy and a little bit misshapen. Dimebag asks, you heard no matter who you make, they look Asian. I was actually trying to make a dude that looked like a pale Irish asshole like me, and he actually came out looking sort of Hispanic. So I don't know.
They don't really have pale skin as an option. Like, their pale skin is still pretty flush. So,
I actually, believe it or not, the animations are bad, but I think my character actually came out looking pretty cool. Because I gave him sort of, not gray hair, not like white gray, but sort of that first shade of gray where it's kind of a dark gray. And that actually, between the haircut, the color, and the goatee, like, him coming out looking Hispanic actually panned out really well because, like, that shit pops. Like, he looks good.
See, I didn't like any of the facial hair in that game. Like, I really wanted to give my guy a goatee, but they did not do a great job. Like, I'm really hoping modders get a hold of this game and give me a bunch of extra haircut styles, because I don't like what they got.
Yeah, most of them were pretty bad. I did the one I picked just ended up working with that hair color and the face shape and the skin tone. Like, it just, again, still animates real bad. The eyes look very dead, but like, just looking at it in profile or something, like, oh, yeah, that guy's pretty. That came out pretty good.
Okay, real quick, I want to get through the next two topics and then call it.
Okay.
Iron Fist, I watched that. It is not great.
Nope.
I don't think it's as like okay. If you made a scale of TV shows for superheroes, you know, from let's say at the bottom, we'll put Agents of Shield.
I'm on board.
You know, and then it goes up to like say the CW shows, and then you get to the Netflix shows with probably Jessica Jones or Legion or something like that on top, right? So on that scale, this is a CW show. Like maybe a little bit better in parts and sometimes worse in parts. Like Arrow season 1 has some better action than Iron Fist, uh, but Iron Fist has a couple story beats that are better than some of the CW shows. So that's about where I put this thing.
It's just not great. I'm
Yeah.
3 or 4 episodes in. He's for starters, he's barely fisted anyone. He spends all his time like either accosting or assaulting people to get them to talk to him, but then he never tells them why he wants them to talk to him. It's like, dude, you're already there. You broke into their house or office or building or like jumped on top of their car to get to where they were going. Like, just have the conversation with them so they know what you're talking about. And like, maybe you don't know that you look homeless, but like after the 4th time someone tells you look homeless, maybe put it together.
Yeah.
And maybe stop stalking Colleen Wing. Those are the only things I have to say.
And I will say the first 2 episodes are arguably terrible. It gets better than the first 2 episodes, but mainly because the actors learn how to act. But Finn, whatever his name is, who plays Iron Fist, he is bad at martial arts. It is very obvious that he had very little, like they trained him. They should have been training him for a half year, you know. And I think I heard he got like 3 weeks. And it should, like, if you know anything about martial arts, it fucking shows. It shows with every stance he takes. So hopefully he has done nothing but practice since then, because that could be an issue in Defenders. But I think Iron Fist is skippable. I don't think it does. I've seen the whole series. I don't think it does anything important in there. They have a couple cool scenes, but that's about it.
Well, it seems like they have the same problems where they have villains who have no idea what they're doing. And I mean, you know, clearly the Hand is going to be the villains at some point. I didn't like them in Daredevil. I just thought they were uninteresting. So, like, the characters that I've been dealing with all along are just these 2 corporate assholes who are being evil for reasons, like, that they don't even get. And it's just like, Marvel stuff, these Marvel Netflix shows work when you have an awesome villain. That's why the Kingpin Daredevil stuff was so good. That's why the Jessica Jones Purple Man stuff was so good. That's even why kind of that first half of Luke Cage was good, even though Remy from House of Cards sort of didn't. He was kind of winging it. Get it? Winging it. But he was good enough of an actor, and the character was cool enough that they pulled it off. When you lose the good villain, you lose the good story. Seems to be what their situation is.
I think that's an astute observation, and one that actually hadn't occurred to me, but that's entirely true, I think. You can't really be a hero if the circumstances are not compelling enough. And Iron Fist, it doesn't understand who or what its hero is. It doesn't understand what its supporting cast is. It doesn't understand who its villains are. And they basically reboot the Hand, kind of. I'm fairly certain the Netflix shows have no idea who the Hand are in any incarnation. And I'm not saying that as a comic fan. I'm saying that as we've now seen the Hand 3 times. Every single time they've been completely different. So make up your goddamn mind.
I'm a little bit interested to see, because I'm not far enough to where they're officially revealed. So like right now, I'm sort of starting to see some of they are, I think, blackmailing somebody, and I don't know what. Like, I'm kind of interested to see what they have over this person, but I doubt it's going to pay off, and I don't know that I'm going to stick with 8 more hours of this show to find out.
I'm pretty sure it doesn't, because I don't remember that plot line at all. So, anyway, yeah, the show's not really like, it's not, again, I don't think it's as bad as everyone else makes it out to be, but it is when you look at the other Marvel Netflix series, which are so good. So just keep that in mind. If you don't like the CW shows, you aren't going to like this. So, I also saw Get Out.
I'm glad we're ending the show on a good note.
Yeah, that is a fantastic movie. I recommend everyone see it. It's good paced. It's like the things that are ridiculous that happen in it, I think you accept because they literally have a character, like the comedic relief's character is entirely about kind of making fun of it, which I didn't realize. Like, it's one of those movies where I didn't realize a lot of things about how the movie was constructed and how involved I was in it until I got out of it and really took a day or two to think of it. Like, when I got out of it, I was like, oh, that wasn't that stressful. And then, like, sat down in my car and realized just how much sweat was in my shirt. Like,
That's gross, but also
yeah.
very cool.
Yeah, it's one of those gross stories where I'm like, no, this is worth telling. But like the music for it's good. I like horror soundtracks. I've always thought have been inventive as fuck, but for a long time they got too hung up on jump scares and the jump hits, and they do that a little bit at the beginning of the movie, but slowly drop them out as the movie progresses. But like all their actors in this movie bring their fucking A game. And it just has real interest. Like it works in the movie context. It works in kind of the metaphors for society and kind of what it's pointing out. I really enjoyed this movie. It is, it's probably a little less than the hype going on for it, but I'm debating the difference between, a 4.5-star movie and a 5-star movie. So,
That's a good problem to have.
yeah. So highly recommend it. I would just, like, if you haven't seen a trailer for it, don't watch the trailer. Just go see it because the trailer gives away like a lot of the plot points in it. So,
Yeah, I feel like that's part of why I haven't gone to see it because it's been all over podcasts. The non-video game podcasts I listen to have been all over this for weeks, and I try and skip them because I'm sort of trying to stay a little, unspoiled. But like I saw the first trailer and it looked really cool, but I feel like I know
yeah,
the main beats of the movie at this point. Like, I still want to see it. I still want to see how it pans out and how it's shot and written and stuff. But, like, I kind of have the idea of what the situation is, so I'm not super compelled to go see it immediately.
yeah. I'm excited to see what Jordan Peele does next because he fucking knocked it out of the park. So, okay. Well, with that, we're gonna wrap this up. You can come watch the live stream every other Thursday at 8 p.m. Central on Twitch.
You got it this time.
At Carousel Podcast. I know, I said every other Thursday.
Yeah.
You can rate and review us on iTunes. That helps other people who might like us. So you should do that.
And it seems to be, whoever's out there rating and reviewing us, it seems to be working. So thank you.
Man, I haven't looked at it in a bit. Is there's stuff there?
Well, no, I mean we're starting to get emails from like game companies being like, "Hey, do you maybe want to talk about our game on your podcast?" And
Oh yeah, that is a good
obviously
point.
we're not going to do any of that unless we can actually play a demo of the game or something, and we think it's gonna apply to something you guys are interested in and that it fits our show. But the fact that we're starting to get these a little bit more regularly means that you guys are spreading the word, which is super awesome. Please continue to do that. We do this because it's fun, but we also do this because we think you guys enjoy it. So the more people who can enjoy it, the happier we are.
Yeah, amen to that. Only not because I got to plug everything else. So email us at carouselpodcast@gmail.com. Send us tweets at carouselpodcast or just follow us on Twitter and find out, and we'll notify you when the shows are happening and all that. And you can visit the website, catch up on old episodes at thecarouselpodcast.com. And if you like the music for the show, you can buy other music I have made at MusiM, MusiM.bandcamp.com. So with that, thank you for joining us, Jake.
Thank you for having me, sir.
And thank you to everyone in chat. And we'll see everyone next turn.
Bye, guys. I'm sorry for yelling.
Totally cashed in on Horizon Bag.
Yeah.
I have no idea.
I am not out $60 for that one.
I got this utility key that I've been playing with the whole time. So
oh God, I forgot to talk about how shitty the frame rate on Mass Effect was, especially compared to Horizon. Son of a bitch. I'm sure it'll come up again. Anyway, titles. You want to read these off?
Sure, because I have forgotten to do that this entire episode. I'm glad you did not. Okay. Pathfinder Bonin. It's almost like Ronin. The Brain Behind the Plane. Bumpin' Hondas. Horizon Zero Trouble. Dick Ryder Pathfinder.
Boy, I like bump. I kind of like all these, except for the brain behind the plane because it's a little too long.
Yeah.
I don't know. Does one of these jump out to you?
I say either Bonin or Dick Ryder.
Okay. Well, you know what? Let's do Dick Ryder then,
Okay.
because Pathfinder Bone-In is a little like you wouldn't get it unless you already heard the podcast. So, all right, Dick Ryder Pathfinder it is.
Are you sure? Like, I feel like their whole advertising campaign this time around is that you get the fuck aliens. So.
Well, no, but the joke was that that's what PB stood for.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
You could
Yeah.
put
Stop smoking all that reefer, son.
I don't. Nah. Nah.
I have no reason to think you do. Anyway, yeah, Dick Ryder Pathfinder. I like that. It rolls off the tongue, so to speak.
Oh, and Dimebag has a suggestion. Give me the fish bones. I mean, I do need fish bones in that game, but anyway.
Yeah, that was finding those fish was fucking horrible. Anyway, I like giving the fish bones, but I think I'm sold on being a Dick Ryder.
Yeah, let's keep with Dick Ryder. So.
All right, cool.
Okay. Thanks to chat, and we'll see you guys next time.